this is a program that I started penning down as I began my journey with my existing clients, clients with dementia, Alzheimer's. And it was an exciting journey. It was a fantastic experience. I was a little bit nervous 5 years ago if this is the right program. Is this something that am I just making up? Is this something that I just came up with no scientific background, with no basis? And well, the economy took a turn, and things were not getting better, and I found a great excuse not to do this. I began my ventures like any other businessman. Wanted to focus on growing the organization and getting to the next level, creating a model, creating a program focusing on directly on assisted, just on assisted living alone. As you saw from the video, things didn't quite pan out the way I wanted it. We would be getting ready to sign on the dotted lines, and something would come up, and things would just fall apart. And it was very discouraging for me at that time. And I started thinking about it, started having discussions with my mentors. And that's when, I happened to mention to them, I've got this program that I wrote, and I'm a little bit nervous. And when I pitched this program to my investors, well, you know that I'm not independently wealthy, I need money. And they just looked at me and they thought I was crazy. Again, this was 6 years ago, and I talked about, hey, I'm going to have the sunrise and sunset. I'm trying to create a sense of routine, repetition, and a structure, and trying to establish some memory patterns and things like that. And at that time, they thought I was crazy. But I was pretty adamant and stubborn, and they wanted me to build facilities in other counties, other parts of Lake County, which I was very excited about doing it. But again, for some reason, I was getting drawn into dementia, Alzheimer's. I have an MBA from Lake Erie College, but I am also an occupational therapist. That's what I went to school for. I also have a master's in occupational therapy. My focus was sports medicine. Totally different than elderly, totally different than dementia, Alzheimer's. And I was laying in the bed last night, and I was kind of tossing back and forth, and I'm trying to think, what is the best way I can explain this program? The program has evolved since the day I started penning it down. It has transformed, and it has grown in the last 6 months alone after we opened the facility. And my projection is, I think it's going to keep growing, it's going to keep evolving. We have rolled only 10% of the program yet. There's 90% more to come. And it has to be done in phases. Reason being is, number one, we have to have the right resources, from a staffing standpoint, from an activity standpoint, and a lot of structures that we need to work on. But before I jump into Aqualily, I just want to talk a little bit about, just want to draw a foundation, a basis of the whole program. Did you know that our brains don't develop till we are 20? And some maybe 25. And that's why no one should be allowed to drive until you're 20 or 25. Or I would say, don't get married before you're 25. Our brains don't develop and fully develop. I'm sorry, brains are developed. Our brain is developing, but fully developed. There's a process called as, without getting into details, the pathological details or the physiological details. There's a process called myelination. What it is as we develop, as we grow from the day we were born, as we get older, our nerves go through a process of myelination. What it is it's nothing but a sheath, okay? And until you hit 20, in some 22, maybe 25, the process of myelination is the strongest. Until you hit the age of 20 or 25. Okay, that's when anything and everything that you experience, you learn, starts getting registered very strongly. Okay? The myelination process gets kind of light, reduces, decreases, after 25. Now, there's a reason why I say this. Your loved ones, they're able to remember things when they were 20 years old, when they were 16 years old, when they're 10 years old. That's the reason why. Without getting into the pathological changes, how the information gets transferred from one component of the brain to another, the easy way to understand is until you are, you hit 20 or 25, you are going through a process called myelination. And that's one of the reasons why the memories around that time period are so strong. Okay? With dementia, Alzheimer's, what happens is the memories that got registered when the process was weak, when the myelination process was weak, that's the one that goes out first. Okay? That's why they're not able to remember what happened yesterday or what happened 10 minutes ago. Okay? So it's very important for us to understand this process. Why people are able to retain memories from significantly past, but nothing from recent past. Now, see, memory is funny too. It's very exciting. It's fun too. Don't we all tend to remember things that are very pleasant? Don't we all remember things that are not very pleasant? Okay? How many of you have experienced that with your loved ones? Pleasant experiences tend to retain longer. Unpleasant experiences tend to retain more. Okay? Because they do make an impact in our memory board. It's like a computer chip. That's what it is. Brain is very complex. I always say that, hey, if you guys get a chance, watch this movie called Limitless. By Brad, I think the main guy is Bradley Cooper. They talk about how we all use only 20% of our brain. We start using the other 80%, we'll go crazy. It's just amazing. Brain is very complex. That's another reason why we are not able to find a cure for Alzheimer's. We think that we found something, we did some experiments, we got somewhere, it's working with mice, with rats, and all of a sudden, we transfer the same process or the capabilities to humans, things don't work. There's a reason for that. Our brains are very complex. Now, the way memory works, there are 4 types of memory. Short-term memory, long-term memory, procedural memory, and working memory. I wouldn't go into details. I don't want to bore you guys with this, but short-term memory is our weakest memory. Okay? Anything that we see, we register, but it's not retained to a point. It's our weakest. The short-term memory has to go through a process called working memory. Okay? You need to work that memory. You should be able to apply that memory in different situations. That's called procedural memory. Okay? Once you do that, you will be able to retain it and it becomes your long-term memory. Make sense? That's how the memory works. Now, clients with dementia, Alzheimer's, they have the long term, which is still intact. They see you, they experience the situation, but there is no working memory. There's no procedural memory. So there's no retention. Okay? So, knowing this, now we gotta build something here. We need to find a way to care for our clients with dementia, Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, okay? And you all know that there are 7 stages of Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's disease has 7 stages. And do you know, stages are how severe the disease is, okay? Stage 1, not that so severe. Stage 7, severe. Do you know how those stages are determined? Those stages are not determined or established by looking at a physiological report, looking at a blood report, or looking at a brain scan. Yes, if you look at the brain scan, you will see amyloids, you will see the plaques and all that stuff. There is some correlation between those that you see on the X-ray or the MRI or any diagnostic report to to the stages that they are in. But purely, the stages are determined by two things, only two things: cognitive function and basic activities of daily living, self-care skills. Cognitive function would be problem solving, judgment, ability to retain, orient, to person, place, time, safety skills. Your self-care skills, ADL skills, are nothing but feeding, dressing, bathing, grooming, oral hygiene, transfers, functional mobility, ambulation, and things like that. Okay? Now, depending on how you perform in those areas, the stages are determined. Now, if you look at stage 1, usually the client is pretty independent. They need some help cognitively, but they're pretty independent. But if you start going down the stages, you will see that the stages are directly capsules the ADL functions and the cognitive functions. All of a sudden, my mom cannot balance her checkbook. My dad gets lost in the neighborhood. So my mom leaves the stove on. You'll start little stuff, little things. And you know what? We as humans, we are very good at masking. We are very good in covering up. I mean, many times, you talk to your parents, that the disease had set in a long time ago. By the time you catch it, it's been for a year, I want to say at least for 6 months, to be extremely conservative, a little bit more aggressive. My guess is about a year or even more a year. Okay? One of the things I say is the first thing to go is hearing. Well, with age, you lose hearing, right? But that's one symptom that you have to keep an eye for. The first thing to go is hearing. And if you go back and start thinking, when was the last time your mom or dad was able to hear extremely 100%? I'm not saying, they'll be deaf. That's not what I mean. But hearing is the first one to go. Okay? Now, so we have ADL functions. We've got, the memory. We've got short-term memory. We've got procedural memory. Working memory, long-term memory. Okay, what does it mean to us? What does it mean to caring for our clients? And essentially, the way this whole program came about is I did not just pick my pen and I was a genius and started writing this. It's not what it is. This whole program was actually taught to me by 4 of my clients who I've started interacting on a daily basis. They taught me how to care for them. My wife taught me how to be a good husband. My children taught me how to be a father. And similarly, my clients, they started teaching how to care for them. What is so important for them? What is it they're looking for? What makes them comfortable? Many times, we come up with these programs. We come up with the great service, hospitality, care system, care program, and our focus is, I think this care program is great. I think this service is great. We forget about our clients. Do they feel good? Are they comfortable? Are they great? Or do they feel great? They can't tell us. But they can express through their behaviors, through their attitude, through their posture. I came up with the sky ceiling, the plants, the waterfalls. Everything looks aesthetically great. And I thought, this is going to be one of the coolest stuff that I'm going to do, and it's going to be so much fun. But I know I've been in the medical industry for a very long time, and I know that I can't just go and sell something. Just because I thought about an idea, it makes sense to me. It's going to make sense to everyone else. I was able, after a lot of research, I was able to identify, recognize 5 principles, 5 theories that were actually out there that supported my observation, that supported my my research that I did for about 3 years. And I want to talk to you a little bit about those 5 principles. And I think it will start making sense to you as I go through one principle after another. And the little handout that I gave you actually does list out those 5 principles. The first theory is, it's called perception in action. Okay? It was written by a psychologist, Dr. Gibson, long time ago. Perception and action is what it is essentially what it is we respond based on what we perceive. Okay? Our perception or response to a perception is based on our preconceived experiences. The experiences that we've had in the past. Okay? I'll give you an example. Let's say that you see someone in a suit. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? You see that the gentleman in a gas station, pumping gas. Tall, well suited up. What comes to your mind?
Businessman.
A businessman. Why? It's a perception. You've experienced that. Okay? You've experienced that in the past. Okay? And short-term memory, procedural memory, working memory, it has become your long-term memory now. Make sense? Okay? We respond based on perception. Okay? You see a movie star, the first thing comes to your mind is, so-and-so has to be good looking. Has to be skinny. We've got all this perception. Not that our perceptions are right or wrong, but those are our perceptions. The waterfalls, the outdoor, all that stuff that you see, it's just not a design pattern, but that we want to give the perception. We want to give that perception to our clients that, hey, you know what? You live outdoors. Okay? Close to living outdoors. Okay? And we create the day and night routine to take them through a process, to take them through a routine, routine through repetition, it becomes a structure. Okay? Homes that we build, yes, they look great with the gazebo, with the shingles and stuff like that, but there's a reason why we did that. We take them up to a setting that they could be very familiar with. Did we do a great job? I wouldn't say. There's a lot more work to do, and we could improve better with our next design. But that's why we did that. Perception and action. We have created an environment, to allow them to start recalling those preconceived experiences. Okay? Person, environment, occupation model. This model was written by a bunch of occupational therapists from Canada, in Quebec. This model was predominantly used with children with autism. Okay, and if you're familiar with autistic kids, what is the first thing that you teach them? Before taking them to an education, have them go through a curriculum. Basic ADLs, self-care skills. What it is the person, the environment, and the occupation. For a child, an occupation is ADL tasks, activities of daily living, dressing, bathing, tying shoelaces, things like that. Person is, the person has to have a desire. There has to be a motivation. And environment is depending on what environment they are in. Okay? I'll explain this a little bit more. If I give you a toothbrush right now, it's about 6:45. If I give you a toothbrush, what would you do with it?
Put it in my pocket.
Put it in your pocket. If I give you a toothbrush, once I know your routine, around 6:30 or 7 in the morning, in front of a sink with a mirror, what would you do with it? You will brush your teeth. The person, the environment, and the occupation is brushing. They all have to come in terms. They have to be in symmetry. They got to gel for us to have a desired function. I'll give you another example. You're on vacation. You're having a great time. And all of a sudden you get a call from home or from work, and they have a question about work. And you can't think. You can't think the answer. You know the answer, but you just can't think. You come back from vacation. You drive into the parking lot, the thought comes to you. Have you experienced this? Mm-hmm. Okay, why is that?
You relax.
Person, environment, occupation. You are used to that environment. That's where those thoughts have developed. The process, the procedures, the habit, everything has developed in that environment. So it comes back to you. Progressive lowered stress threshold. Progressive lowered stress threshold. This was written by a nurse in 2004 when she worked with clients with dementia. And really no one did that, and no one did anything with that paperwork. When I started creating an environment, okay, I've always felt, and I think you'll agree with me. When I walk into a spa, I have a nice glass of wine, a great massage, the flavor, the aroma, I feel great. I just feel extremely relaxed. My memories clear up. My thoughts clear up. Things starts coming together. All of a sudden I'm energized. Okay? That's what relaxation can do for you. Okay? Now I have clients here, I really can't create that kind of a facility. However, if I create the sky ceiling effect, the waterfalls, that contributes a lot to relaxation. With waterfalls, we all know that water is 2 molecules of oxygen, hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. When they hit the ground, they break, they split, and they disperse. It creates positive and negative ions. Negative ions are good for us. There's a reason why we get sick, between 4 walls or walls with no windows. Because there's a lot of positive ions. And negative ions create that automatic relaxation. Okay? The sky ceiling enables release of endorphins. Clients with dementia, Alzheimer's, they do go through stress. They go through stress all day. They don't express it. You don't feel it. They're normal humans like us. They go through stress. What's the best way to eliminate or remove the stressors from the environment? Is to create an environment that would impact them. Allow everything that I talked about, the relaxation techniques, okay? That's why we have that environment. So essentially, when you de-stress them, again, I'm not saying that, everything that we do, works 100%. To some extent, it does. They're able to be themselves. There's a good chance that the memories could align. There's a good chance thoughts could align. It's very important for them to be relaxed. We don't want clients walking constantly, going through doors, trying to elope, being aggressive, agitated. They're all emotions that they all experience at some point. We have to find a way to relax them, and that's exactly what Aqua does. The 4th model is a very controversial model, but I think it makes a lot of sense. It's called theory of retrogenesis. Essentially what it is, this model was written by a physician a long time ago, and his name is Barry Weisberg. What he says is, he hypothesizes that people with dementia, Alzheimer's, they reverse develop. Okay? And he started comparing stages of dementia and Alzheimer's to developmental ages. What essentially it means is and it's true, and this is something that there are organizations out there that are slowly beginning to embrace this, and I have to be very careful how I say this. Essentially what they're saying is, with dementia, Alzheimer's, you actually kind of revert back to early developmental stages. You're talking about anywhere from being an infant all the way up to 20 years of age. Okay? And it's true. And I can as we talk more about it, I'll take you through the process. So, and we need to know that. We need to know that. Okay? Reason we need to know that as caregivers, as care providers, is the way we approach them and the way we care for them. Okay? We don't treat them like children. We do not treat them like children. However, our care, our program is designed to how we approach them. I'll give you an example. In your handout that I gave you, I think you do have handouts specific to your family member. I had a Jenny circle the development stage that they are in. Some of the clients are not at stage 3, some are not stage 4, they're not black and white, they're between 3 and 4. I'll give you an example. When you look at stage We have one client who is actually at level 1, and their age group is between teenage to 20s. Okay? Level 2 client, they've got this independent learning. Their age group is between 4 either to 10 or 12 years of age. Level 3 is 18 months to 3-year-old. Level 4, 12 to 18 months. Level 5 is infant. Okay? Let's hold the thought for a second. Last but not the least, the last theory, Aquilil is based on is, it's called BATF, Basic Ability to Function. Basic Ability to Function. We do not focus on their disabilities. We do not focus on their dysfunctions. Our focus is on their functions, on their abilities. There's a reason why. Now, BATF is a theory that was written by a very well-known occupational therapist out of California. She wrote this program for patients a long time ago, patients with schizophrenia. Then she quickly realized this is not for them. It was to do with behavioral, related conditions, and then it was kind of modified and slowly changed to, and applied to clients with dementia, Alzheimer's. And it's a phenomenal model. You really have to be trained in that model, in this model. I looked at retrogenesis, that is when the clients revert back to early developmental stages. Then what I did was, then I took the established clinical stages 1 through 7. I married all 3. Okay, we need to come up with a care plan. We need to find a way to care for our clients. So what I did was I took all these 3 models. I recognized that they revert back to early stages. I recognize I need to focus on their functions, not their disabilities or their dysfunctions.